Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, being joined by Henrietta Weekes, who has a chapter in my new book. And we have two amazing guests here. We have Marla Lombard, who is returning to the show, and Willow B. What is it?
Willow B on Facebook. Willow Broadus is my name.
Oh, Ryan. Willow's an old friend, and Marla. Well, you can introduce, but I just want to say you weren't aware so much of these ET realities until we kind of initiated you a few programs, or maybe it was the last program. But why don't you introduce Marla, because she's
well. So yeah, I'm going to introduce Marla. Again, it's so delightful to have you on the show. I have found Marla to be. I found her through happenstance, a long story, but you know. I've always been a little skeptical of psychics, but
you're a psychic yourself.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Okay.
But when I first started talking to Marla, she had an incredible amount of extraordinary, accurate, subtle information that she couldn't possibly have known. Because we'd never met, we didn't know anything about each other, but So she is what I would call a seer in the true sense of the word, but also a real explorer of consciousness, reality, the larger reality, and she also brings such joy to it.
And also based on the last show we did with Marla, I would say you're an adventurer.
An
in consciousness, of consciousness. Of other worlds too. It's like, it doesn't seem like you're afraid of going anywhere interdimensionally. Is that fair to say?
I don't know if I'd say I'm not afraid. I'm not very brave, but I do it anyway. Thank you. How can I thank you for those
years?
How can you thank us for what were you saying? What were you saying,
Your
Marla?
kind words. Thank you so much. I'm so honored.
And then I also want to introduce Willow B, who's an old friend of mine, who's a mystical visionary. She's a therapist. She's a abductee, contactee, starseed, I would call you that. And she's going to be talking about some of her experiences today. So thank you. And we might be joined by some other friends here today. But Marla, let's start with you, because you said you had a mission, or what did you say you had?
I have the most beautiful message that I received from a group of, I'll call them extraterrestrials, but let me just look quickly and see. I called it, when I wrote about this on my blog, channeled message of hope from galactic and interdimensional beings. Mm-hmm. So I felt it was a group. Shall I read it to you?
Yes. Well, no, forget about it. No.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Blessings from the many who are gathered here to bring you hope and information for the benefit of your planet. There are many watching over you and watching the progression from old mindset to new mindset. And we want to send you some encouragement and waves or puffs or winds of the energy of love from us to you. We understand that this is a time of upheaval, and many are wondering what the future holds for them. We want you to understand, learn, or be aware that there are many who support your hearts and your physicality, your bodies, in other words, your lives. We want you to know that you are not alone. Those of us who can help, we do help. Those of us who can watch, we do watch. Those of us who can send helpful thought forms to you, we do send. We can communicate with those of you who will listen. We try to communicate to bring in good messages. Thank you for understanding and hearing us. We come from many different places in life. We do not live with you, but we live with you because we are all connected. What happens there with you matters to what happens here with each of our different groups, different cultures, different beings, and different worlds. Sad to see the struggles of your world. Sad to see the struggles within so many in your world. We cannot change your world, nor do we want to, but you have a friend in all of us. We connect. We honor your struggles for the higher qualities to survive, to gain hold, to flourish among you. The higher qualities, a combo of love, ethics, worship, respect, and the golden moments of your history, unselfishness, devotion, integrity, light in the intellectual, philosophical, religious areas, the high point of human life, the golden moments of history. We see in you the higher qualities we see in all of us. All universal and beyond universal life forms benefit greatly from the higher life forms and qualities of your species. Here is the word of encouragement. You have always had higher qualities in the history of your people, and those higher qualities are still carried in some of you. We encourage you to encourage the moments of higher qualities in others. Use prayer as a thought form. Thought form is prayer. Prayer and thought form are asking and knowing it will be delivered. It is a law of the universe. When life is requested, life appears. Hold hope for your history of man. This is an ongoing history, an ongoing story, and is not yet finished from what we see and know here. You are not alone.
Wow. So, but a few questions there, because I mean, you brought up so many. How do we move forward? I know we're not alone, and that's great. I really appreciate your company, but how do we now go take the next step? Welcome, Nadi. We just got a message from, where did we get that message from? But how do we move forward? I mean, yeah, that's all great and makes sense and it feels good. But what can we do? What should we do? Is there something to do?
Should I answer?
Yes, yes. I mean,
I'd love for someone else to answer, but I'll just, I mean,
well, you're the one with the
Ellen,
connection.
I
Yes.
think, Ellen, that what you're doing is the most important thing is to, we know that we're all connected. We know this. This is not news, but to have people be able to speak about their connections, to be able to note all these connections as you do, to report them, to explore the topic. I mean, I think this is, you're taking us there.
Okay, so what I'm doing is find Henrietta and everyone else, maybe, because we all have the same mission here. I can speak for Nadi. Yeah. Oh wait, Willow, you had a question. Yeah, Willow.
Well, I just wanted to add to that. I had a really wonderful conversation with someone today who was really struggling with their feelings of guilt about being a privileged person in the world where so many are not. And one of the things that we came to was, well, rather than saying that you're bad because of the circumstances that you were born into and feeling like everything's black and white and you can only be bad because of that, which was what she was struggling with. It was like, how about looking at the fact that I said, do you believe we are all one? Yes, we are all one. And that our guiding essence to grow as a collective one is through love. Yes. Agreement. So that's what we do. We keep working towards our oneness in the spirit of love. and we keep doing everything we can. And if you read something and you say this comes from a place of hate, then maybe that's not the path you go down. You know, if you read something and you resonate, it comes from a place of love, then you know it's good. So,
Well, it's evolutionary. It's not, you know, if it feels good and right, like both of what you've said, it's moving us forward in a direction of new possibilities. Right?
And if we ourselves, or this person I was talking to, are coming from a place of love and service and wanting to, you know, do everything we can for the betterment of all, then that's good. And there's no reason to, you know, think that you're bad or something.
Right.
You know?
Well, I do have a little bit of judgment about people who deny their own position in the world. Not that, I mean, we're here to do, and if we could do good from whatever level of
Yeah.
society, then why feel guilty? What do you think?
Yeah, well, no, I was going to say that to speak to you, Willow, and to go back to Marla's beautiful message. I'm not so fond of that word.
Okay.
In that, but you know what you said at the beginning was just so lovely. The higher qualities in ourselves, the higher qualities in all of ourselves, the continual elevation which we do together wherever you are,
Mm-hmm.
so that people can meet. So, I mean, my guiding principle is to meet people where they are at.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, wherever you are at, you can always be at the best of yourself in that level. And I love that message, that's what that contained for me. Mm-hmm. And also that, you know, you used the word integrity. You didn't use the word responsibility, but that integrity is sort of, for me as well, at the core of where we're all at now. We have, you know, we don't have a lot of time to make very smart choices together,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
go forward.
Yeah, we have to just have the integrity to know we're on the right path, doing the right thing. And whatever your place in the world is, just use it for the best. That's what I say. Nadi, what do you say? Anyway, I guess maybe she doesn't hear us.
I was just putting on chapstick. What was the overarching question? I mean, I can kind of glean from the answers.
Well, to move forward in the world in the best possible way with the highest integrity for us and each other, and for the beings that want, like Marla just gave us, and I guess you missed the message, but she gave us a sort of download.
No, that was beautiful. I caught Willows. I thought, oh, did you mean Marla? Sorry, Willow, I really appreciated hearing that. Just about the love. So,
and you would have liked Marla's message.
You would have loved her message.
Well, and Marla, actually, what I'm interested in is, because you said it was a message and you called them, you know, the galactic
beings.
Yeah.
Galactic and interdimensional beings is the best way I could describe it.
Describe them in words. So what I'm interested to know is, when you get that message, what happens? Do you hear it? Do you hear them? What's
but before
the
that, I just
communication
wanted to
like?
see if Nadi had anything to add to like where we're at in our evolution.
Yeah, I'm probably going to seem completely preoccupied.
That's okay.
With hybrids. so that would be my answer. You know, where we're going, because Alan and I were just spent the weekends with the hybrid conference, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go on the roundtable and we'll be talking about it. So if I'm in integrity and I'm moving forward for the collective, it actually really means talking about our relationship with, you know, how our higher selves can come about and how they got there, but really talking a lot about our relations with the galactics.
Well, I think that's been what Marla sort of started off with. And that's a really good question you asked, Marla. Like, where are you connecting to, Marla? Because you're sort of you're letting all these different energies through you. They may be astral, they may be people who've passed over. Actually, I have a question about that because I just had a dream about my old girlfriend, but let's.
No, well, and I wanted to say, because I'd introduced Marla, as I know from personal experience, that she gets extraordinarily accurate information about one's personal lives, and she works with many individuals, and I've had many sessions and talks with Marla, so I know that she's tapping into something which is hard to understand, right, in terms of our regular operating system. So I'm sort of much more willing to believe that what you've come up with, what you've told us about this message is coming from the same sort of source, and so, that resonates very powerfully because it's coming from you. You're not making it up, is what I'm saying.
I
And
couldn't
so I'm
have made
curious,
that up.
right?
I would have loved to, but I couldn't.
But
So how does it happen?
Where's that connection? Who
Where's
are
it
these
coming
beings, and are you always connected? Yeah, that's the question for you, Marla. How does it
Well,
happen?
thank you for asking. And you know what? I'm going to try to connect with that same group again. Now, I'll just say that what I felt is that they came in from different places. So I don't know why they picked me or why I was open in the moment. I just know that all of a sudden I felt this message coming through. And then what I do is just type it as fast as I can. So it is coming in words, and it is coming in, as they called them, thought forms.
Yes, I like that, thought forms. Yeah.
I did too. And it feels a little bit, I think I might be answering your question. It feels, I'm not the first person to come up with this, but it feels like branches of a tree, and I'm the tree trunk. So I might be picking up something from over here that maybe I didn't intend to come up with this. I didn't contact them first, they contacted me. If I'm doing a medium reading or pet communication or a psychic reading, I'm going out and looking for the information. This I did not look for, it came in. And it came in, I think this is not a recent message. This was, I think, the year before COVID. And when I've reread it, I am always heartened to think that how much more important this message is now, even than it was 2 years ago.
Right.
Go ahead.
But have you tried speaking it as opposed to writing it, just as it comes through you, like saying the words, and it's like channeling, I guess that would be,
Yeah, which Henrietta, I don't really like that word either. I don't like it. But Alan, I would try it for you.
Well, will you try it now for all of us watching on all dimensions and levels and YouTube fans?
I can do my best, Alan.
Well,
Yes.
And can I ask a quick question before that might possibly help you? I
Sure.
don't know, to get in that space, because they said, whoever they are, whatever that is, that they were with us, but not with us. I mean, that's quite a paradox. So
well,
that's
you know what I
interesting.
mean. They're with us emotionally or whatever, but they're not right here. Or maybe they are. I don't know. I got it. Didn't you get it? That they're with us, but not.
Well, yeah, but that's an interesting thing. I mean, John Mack talked about that a lot. It's kind of like, right, that whatever's going on, it's like they're embedded in, it is embedded in this reality that we're here, but absolutely takes a very different form. So, right?
Yeah, but I think there's something that's coming through her now that will speak to all of us. And, you know, Nadia's very connected to the geometries of crop circles. And those are messages from maybe the same or some of the same beings. But there's a message I feel at this time that they do want to tell us, because we've passed a certain point of initiation and now we're moving to the next kind of nexus point. And like there's these series of upgrades that the planet is going through, and those kind of aware of this. So it feels like we've just gone through something and now there's another one coming through, but that was the big one, the one I think that we just kind of went through on whatever level. So I think there's a new message, Marla. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, let me just try to, I'm going to do my best.
Whatever. Yes, whatever comes through.
So, I'm trying to connect with the, I'm just going to block your faces so that I can't read any expressions.
Okay.
And
I can take off our pictures if you want. We can.
No, this is fine. I just put, in order to connect, I just put that blog that I read from in front of me. So here's the thing, Alan, you have got to, maybe I'll get something for each one of you, but I'm going to try to get a general message. But Alan, you just have got to keep going. I mean,
there's nowhere else to go except going.
I know you're unstoppable. I know.
Well, I'm just doing what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm going. Yes.
Yeah.
But thank you.
You are one of the figures of light in this movement of acknowledgement of life beyond our life. So just keep going. And Alan, please, maybe the whole thing will be about you, Alan, but no, Alan, please keep gathering people who are gathering information. This is crucial.
Thank you.
That's what he does.
That's what I love to do, but it's my, excitement, highest excitement, as for sure. But yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement, because yes, that's very exactly. Thank you.
And then I'm going to just talk about maybe our culture and then the world, what they get. So this struggle that's going on, there's so many struggles going on. They see all of them. They can look at our world. This is the same group, I think, with a few variations that I talked to before. They see everything that's happening. They watch us from afar, even if they're not watching with eyes. All they have to do is tune into us and sense what's going on. One of them is showing me that he can, he or she, I don't know. I'm just going to say that he can zoom into any points on the earth where he wants to get information, but also they're really good at the overall view. And as we all know, the four of us, this is a crucial time for our transformation, and we can do it, but we have a lot of choices to make as humans. And the more quickly we could gather, I think, Willow, this speaks to what you were saying, the more quickly that we can gather in love and unity, of course, this goes without saying, but they're saying it, the better off we are. Now, I'm asking them, well, that's all good. We know that, but how do we do that from this place that we're all have such different views and we have different whatever. So let me just see what comes through. Oh my God, they're so encouraging. It's like a cheerleading team. You can do it. You can do it. Discussion is really important. They're telling me that humans communicate not only by discussing, but when they discuss, they're connected at like 30 different levels. So keep the discussion open, but for those of us who know that discussion is happening on all those levels. I'll try not to repeat. Okay. The emotions are super, super high on our planet right now. Like 90% of the people are really emotional. And so those of us, Willow, this probably speaks to you too, those of us who understand how to work with humans when they are emotional, distressed, distraught, discouraged, like kick in. Also, for those of us who, I don't know, maybe know a little bit more, try to keep the emotions in check. emotions are fine, they're saying, and emotions are an excellent way for humans to communicate, and to share and to all of that. But they could go on about that. But because emotions they're showing me between humans are more than just emotions. But the problem is now is that there's just all these waves of emotion going around the planet that nobody knows what to do with. So if we've done enough personal growth, I'm not trying to sound like, the five of us are so special, but if we know better, just try to keep our emotions calm. It's okay if we get worked up sometimes, but it's not helping if we become part of the emotional upheaval.
Right.
That's for everybody, actually. It's not just for people who
Is there a sort of thing coming, an emotional upheaval in the works on a planetary level? Or is this like where we've been?
We're in the middle of it.
Right.
We're in the
Right.
middle of it. Now, what they suggest, well, okay, so that's one thing. Just try to stay calm, but they really mean not getting engaged with like the frantic emotions. Now, okay, Willow, I'm so looking forward to hearing you comment on this part, but they're saying, okay, humans have to release the emotions and humans have to move the emotions through, but they don't have to flash them all over at one another. And this is a lot of what's happening. And then conflicting energies, and then it gets all, then it becomes all about conflict. What they are suggesting to us is that, I'm going to speak in sort of simple language, but if everybody could just open their third eye to, which is not a term I use at all, but if we could all just open our third eye to the possibilities of life beyond the life we know. That we're talking about layers of life. I won't go into it, but layers of life on our planet, like plants and animals and sand and, everything is alive. If we could first just realize that everything is alive, not just humans, and then B, which of course you four are already open to the possibilities that there is life, not only in the bigger night sky life that scientists explore, but also in the in those interdimensions.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean,
That's the main message, is to just realize that we aren't alone in a not only in a supportive way, but also in an egotistical way. Like we're not it.
But are we also being permeated by this? I mean, they're reaching down to you, but aren't they right here in this space? Aren't they like right in front of us that we're just not seeing it? Or do we have to reach out and make contact, as I said, making contact?
Making contact. Well,
Yeah.
What's being suggested in the moment, I don't know. We could always try a different group another time, but the attitude that's being suggested at the moment is that we, again, realize that all of our world is completely vibrant, alive, like the whole thing is breathing and everything in it is breathing. And then once we sort of accept that, please try to move quickly, they say, to the fact that there is life out there. Now, I agree with you, Ellen. I agree with you. I think that a lot of this is right here. What they happen to say is, I think what they're talking about is just expanding our perception and accepting a bigger reality.
Can I ask you about the crop circle phenomenon that Nadia and me, actually, I've been to England twice and be in the crop circles. What is that? Who are communicating that? And are there, well, there's specific messages, but you get anything about those beings making those circles?
Well, I'll tell you the only thing I get, and then I'd love to hear what Nadi says because I don't know a thing about crop circles. Just think, Alan, all the things you're introducing me to. A voice comes through and says, it takes a lot of effort.
Well, it does in a way.
Interesting.
You have to do the design, you have to develop the plasma beam, you have to find the field, but
It's a lot
so
of work.
what? But that's what they're doing. I mean, yes, I know it does, but they're doing it for a reason. I mean, but yeah, it takes a lot of work, but they're doing it. So why are they doing it? Oh, wait. No, I mean, did you get anything else? Oh,
Well, we need the
Will.
signs, and we respond to signs and symbols. We need,
Right.
I mean, like the symbol behind, I think that's a Merkaba or not.
it's the flower of life, right?
The flower of life.
Yes.
Well, when we as humans look at a symbol, we
Mhm.
read everything that's in that symbol, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, that
it's crucial that the
whole
messages come
a lot
through.
of effort. Yeah.
Well, what were we going to say, Willow? Were you going to say something there? And then Nadi, Willow?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely, definitely. They communicate with signs and symbols. And when you said it takes a lot of work, I had a flash of them having to not just plan out the whole design and everything, but they have to get themselves into a sort of metaphysical meditation, energetic state in which they can, through their being, through their beaming their own energy, have an effect on matter, which is harder. Matter is dense. So, and they're coming from a place of light. So it must take a lot of energy to create a crop circle out of your own spiritual energy.
What do you think, Nadi?
I love that. I love the idea of meditative, concentrated effort. I don't think it's hard for them. I think it's technology in the blink of an eye. I think they think of a consciousness, they see it, they enter a program, and it's done. The way I heard the message coming through Marla, if it takes a lot of work, I heard that it takes a lot of work to influence human consciousness. That's how I heard it.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you, Nadi. Yes.
It
Well,
takes
it
a lot of
does,
effort
doesn't
to
it?
communicate.
To get through the density.
Yeah.
Yes, that does take a lot of work because
Yeah.
it's only been 5,000 years or something, right?
It is what Willow was saying. I mean, the density, the translation, I don't think it's in their technology and their consciousness. I think it's our density and our programming and our limitations. But,
It's how do we understand all these different communications, right?
Right.
Like it,
But the other
through
interesting
the
thing
symbols.
Willow said is it's coming from the non-physical is physical manifestation, from the unseen into the seen. And that's kind of a magical process of thought transference, thought form,
Affecting physical matter.
yes, and interactions as symbols to thoughts back into, the abstract, from the abstract to the concrete, back into the abstract awareness that we all have. So it's this kind of circle of knowing that seems to be unfolding.
And also, I don't know if any of you have seen that film Arrival.
Oh yeah, do you know that film, Marla?
Right, and what's
That's your homework, Marla. See that?
Yeah.
All right, let me write it
Well,
down.
what's so interesting is that the communication that comes from these other beings is not in a way that we can understand immediately, and so it's a question of kind of learning a different language, which Marla's mentioned to me before. Like, we're developing a new language. We've talked a lot about that on the whole series.
Right. Well, that's what I got from what Marla, you were saying about that message. You were saying my feeling was you were saying the words, but the messages were much more complex than the words. And so it's there's no language in that sense for the actual download. So it comes through us humans in a kind of simplified form, but that's only the kind of outer covering of the message.
I agree completely.
Mhm. Right. So,
Completely. And one thing I love to do, I'm not talking about myself, but I just have to for a second. What
No,
I
do.
love to do as a
You're the
psychic,
expert.
a medium or whatever, is to get that kernel of a message and then just keep diving into that. That is so fulfilling and rewarding, and
right.
one can really go deep. So yeah, we could go on for hours.
Well,
Well,
that,
no, but it's very, I think it's so interesting that you share, you know, like this publicly, because I know it's kind of one of, you know, that you're just beginning to do this more. Like what, you know, your particular personal process is like an entry into a world that most of us do not know
yes.
or experience.
You
And I
Or
think
have
that,
blocked out. Yeah.
or we don't know how. So it's very interesting to me, you know, you were, for Nadi and Willow, who haven't met Marla before, you know, Marla's backstory is that she wasn't thinking about anything spiritual. She was on a career path in the art world. She was surrounded by intellectuals and friends. It just came out of left field and sort of hit her like a truck, right? And then you couldn't ignore it. So it's a very interesting phenomenon when you sort of met with something that you're not even searching for. Like a lot of people will search and seek and maybe make things up because they want to know, have that experience. Right. But for Marla, that was not the case, right?
But no,
Yes,
oh no,
I think that was absolutely not the case. And yes, and thank you both, because I am such a private person. All four of you, thank you for allowing me to come out. But I think that all seekers are getting information. You know, this is one thing, Henrietta, that I go on about. I mean, I think that we all think that we are supposed to see something or hear something, but the truth is we have a lot of ways of receiving information, which is why I've got to finish that book called The 10 Psychic Senses, because I've seen that a lot of people who know and a lot of people who feel discount the information they get. They have a sense of knowing, especially the feelers. You know, somebody will feel something in emotions or in their body. And not only do they personally discount it, but we discount it too. We tend to listen to people who are getting words, who are seeing visions. We might doubt the accuracy of it, but we don't doubt that they're probably having an experience. So I would just encourage anybody who's watching to know that if you're seeking, it's coming to you. If you're seeking, it's already connecting with you, right? Don't you all agree?
Yeah, and what's so interesting, if it could happen to people like you, just kind of a normal person going about their business, maybe there's a moment within our planetary history that'll just hit everyone like that. Maybe, I'm just saying, wouldn't that be?
Why not? Why not? You are exactly right. If it can happen to me,
exactly,
Alan, 100%, it can happen to anyone. And I think this is just my personal opinion, but I think it is happening all over the place with so many people, but they don't have a forum. They don't have anybody to confirm. They don't have anybody to say, oh yeah, you're feeling it. You know, you don't need to see it or hear it, right? I mean, this is what you're providing for all of us.
We're doing this so people know. I'm just saying that's why one of the reasons to do this is to encourage whoever's watching that they have access. You know, access is not denied. Access is approved for all conscious beings at this moment in history to just tune into the unseen, which we're a part of. Wait, Nadi, you were going to say something before.
Yeah, there's always so much, like once you have a thought that you want to share, like 40 other things come in. Right. But I think, Alan, what you do and, you know, what Neil is doing with Portal to Ascension and what I aim for in my calls and classes is essentially validation, where we've all been either pathologized or told that we're crazy. And a lot of these metaphysical and psychic abilities are really pathologized is the right word, medicated, whatever.
Right.
And so a lot of times just hearing somebody else's story or being in a group is so validating. And so I totally agree with you. Then I wanted to go back a second, so I don't want to shift gears too much, but you know, I remember you telling your story, Marla. I was on that call, and I really appreciated that. I think there's more people that are in your experience than not, right? We're like hit over the head. We're like, what is this? And then we spend a little decade or so coming to learn about it. So that's that. I wanted to thank you for, you know, coming out and sharing with everything.
Oh,
And then
you're so kind.
yeah, I also wanted to add to the psychic communication. The Arcturians call the way that they communicate information, they call it telepathic holography, which is that you get this entire block, a thought block, which contains every essence of a thought.
Oh.
And the thing about telepathy, you know, when I've traveled the interdimensional realms, like English spoken language, it gets painful after a while, because telepathy is this beautiful, nuanced package that communicates energetics and subtleties and so much beyond what our language does. It gets frustrating. You know, they can communicate something that you feel in your entire body. And we do that to some extent. But I really love learning about the process of how they are communicating and learning that language. I think, as you said, Henrietta, I'm not sure if it was you, but yeah.
Because we already have that language inside of us.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think there's a
the
history.
problem, our culture, is that we have that language. I mean, okay, there's big parts about that we haven't developed. But let's just say if we have 10 psychic senses, then we have, you know, that includes like dreams and smell and taste. And so we have all these ways to use our human body and our human brain that we can already get information. I love what you said, Nadi. So, okay, so someone may not feel it, but somebody else may know it. Somebody may have visions, but somebody else may just know something in their body. And I think the more we come together, especially for the people who feel things in their emotions and their body, we really need to support them.
Right.
And we need to help them figure out their own language. You know, what does it mean when I feel this? How can I express it? Whatever, you know what I mean.
Well, we just did this conference. Now, it was part of this hybrid conference, and this woman was, she drew these figures, these interdimensional figures that contain these codes, these light codes. Maybe I'll show some of them later, and you can just tap in, Marla, and see what the communication, because isn't she the best, Kamara Jones, Nadi? Isn't she?
Yeah, Kamara Jones. Yeah, I do. I'm doing a light language call. I usually do light language. I do a combo of light language, whales, and dolphins, and just look at all the different types of communication. But I'm so in love with Kamara that I'm going to do a whole light language class on her art. It was, I mean, I think she stole the show on the weekend.
She did.
It was amazing. Yeah.
She was fantastic. You'll love it, Marla. I want to understand what you get from it. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, I don't understand what light language is.
Oh, that's a good question. Can you explain that, Nadi?
How would you just define it? What is it?
Oh, thank you. I forget. I zoom past things, and it's hard to translate my because I'm somewhere else sometimes.
Is it more like it's essentially telepathy?
No, it's more like abstractions of communication that are intentionally felt but not understood with the left brain, the logical mind. How would you say it, Nadi?
Yeah, it's that, you know, it is channeled information. It is from higher source, from our higher self. And it's information that comes through specifically vibrationally. And it bypasses, like Alan would say, it bypasses our attempt to understand things. So it's more of a pure transmission. And it sounds like spoken language that we don't understand. Sometimes it's from
tongues or like...
Yeah. Some people understand what's coming through. I think the crystal kids and the more advanced folks, they can interpret like which civilization and what language, but it can be spoken, it can be signed. I sign and I speak primarily, but it can be sung and danced and written. And it really is just information coming through, and it's activation. It's this subtle activation of our DNA. It's this genius intelligence coming through us that works on these subtle, sophisticated realms. It's like the crop circles, it's like the geometry, it's the symbology you're talking about, it's our activation. It's just trying to go in the back door behind our cognitive English. Yeah.
Gets away from the left brain. Like, they say in physics, when you don't collapse the wave function, all things are possible. And it's like that. We're not collapsing it into, this is what it means. Because
sorry.
No, go ahead, Marla, go ahead.
But don't you think that we can get there? I mean, don't you think that's something that we're all working on, is how we integrate that information? Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, sorry.
I had something first to say.
Maybe before you tell the story, just because we're talking about this. So I've always been interested, as Alan knows, and I think I've said this on the show a couple of times, in the Australian Aboriginal culture, which is one of the oldest cultures in the world. And they, I remember in various books I've read about them, they actually communicated within the tribe telepathically. That was their main form of communication. So whether you want to say it's telepathy, instinct, they didn't have a language. And their main language was song, so vibration and song. And then obviously their dreaming world was as important as their waking world.
Well, probably more important.
And more so.
That's their religion there.
So, what we're talking about, it's not like this is all new. This is us as a history of human beings.
It is who we really
and we've
are.
Developed a very sophisticated language, verbal, right? But actually the language of signs, symbols, telepathic, dreaming, etc., extraordinary knowing, however we want to call it,
right,
is actually a much more effective way of
it
communicating.
is. It's more inclusive. It's like a cluster.
Or it's an important addition to
I think
language.
it's more important than language. It's a cluster of meanings. That's why emojis sometimes communicate better than the word. Like if you give someone a thumbs up, it just doesn't mean yes or right on, or it means I'm with you. It means so many things that are abstracted, but yet we know it. We know it without words, the essence of symbols in a sense. So yeah, we'd love to hear your story, Marla, because you have great stories. And after you, then I want to hear Willow's experience that she just went through.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick.
Oh, no, you don't have to make it quick. Just take your time and give us all the detail, the gory details.
Yeah, tell us.
So kind to me. Thank you. Okay.
And then we can ask you questions.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say that I had just moved back to California. I was brand new. I'd been training myself, as you've heard before, with the guides and whatever. But I was new, and I went to my first psychic fair as a reader. And just to be funny, I did the whole thing wrong. The whole thing. Like they said, okay, you need a tablecloth and you need a timer and you need this and that. And well, I just grabbed some tablecloth. I just moved here. I didn't have anything. And I got an egg timer. How stupid was that? I just ran to the store and got one so that when my timer went off, it was super loud and everybody was glaring at me. Okay, and everybody had nice little things on their tables like crystals and candles. I had like nothing but some, I don't know, dark forest green tablecloth. It wasn't good. And I was a wreck aside from that. I was a wreck. So my first client, wouldn't you know it? I also, you only have like 5 minutes, right? I started getting the fact that she had symbols in her head that she'd been carrying around since birth, and that they were kind of troubling her because they were in there, like she could feel them, she knew them, but she never knew what to do with them. And I suggested that, I don't know what I suggested, that she try to get them out, like in any way, like doing them on whiteboards when she could, or doing greeting cards, or like just, they had to come out, like now was the time. But she was stunned when I said this because it was true. And the this is probably my most genius moment as a psychic, and it's all over with the first reading. Okay. So I grabbed a napkin and a pen and I made the symbol for her. And she said, yes, I have been drawing that symbol since I was a child.
Wow.
Okay. First, what a transformative moment for her. Like, talk about acknowledgement. I mean, isn't that beautiful? And then,
did it mean
what did it
anything?
mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
for her or you. What did it?
okay. Well, this is what I got. That the symbol, this is what we're talking about. This is why I brought this up. Thank you.
Yeah.
The symbol itself, as Nadi said, is communication. And we're picking it up on all these levels. So the symbol itself is language.
The symbol. Yes, it is a language. It's a communication. And was that one, did that mean anything in particular to that woman? Obviously it was, because, there's sigils that stimulate certain frequencies into manifestation. That's one use of.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole kind of metaphysical occult practice that, has its manipulations, but, they mean an infinite amount of things. One aside to that is that a lot of gas companies use spiritual symbols because it draws people to their company, like the shell being a kind of container for the spirit. The chevron where the body and spirit merge. There's the flying horse, is another symbol of the spirit. So
I love this.
So there's this whole idea that these people behind those countries know what speaks to the soul, and they use those symbols to pull people in a sort of dark way, I would say, to their kind of financial enterprises, which is a little manipulation.
It's called branding.
But it's branding in a manipulative way.
Of course. But I mean,
But I wonder how many graphic artists are doing that without knowing or without thinking. I'm not talking about the big corporations. I'm talking about people who are like making business cards and, for people.
Well, that's a different thing, because they don't have quite often they wouldn't have an agenda. It would just be coming from their own. I had a symbol myself that I would always be drawing as a young girl. Yeah, very, very simple, but it was something that I would always draw, which was basically a circle with a line through the bottom half of it. So it didn't intersect it exactly. So like a sun, I saw it as a sun that I was drawing with a line through it. I had no idea what it meant, but it gave me a feeling of sort of like, of sort of power and focus. I would draw it before I did a work. It was just, I would draw it a lot.
I had a symbol too. It was like this. It was like this S, like this meandering river, but really quick. And then when I finally saw that in the Chinese writing as this kind of symbol for chi. Anyway, it makes sense, but it was something very, just drawing it and finding it in the world was very satisfying for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yes. So I just want to say I have a presentation where I talk about abstract language and symbols. I did this for Contact in the Desert, but I think I'll post it part of that talk here so I can tell you, because this is how the ETs think, in my opinion. They don't think in words, they think in these clusters of symbolic meaning, and we have to connect with that part of our brain that understands that and get out of this whole left brain analytical part, because that hasn't taken us anywhere. Or it's Einstein says it gets us from A to B, but your imagination will get you everywhere else. So that's the thing. Sorry, were you saying something, Nadi? Were you going to say something right there?
I'm excited for Willow. I've been chomping at the bit, but I just wanted to say, in my paradigm, perhaps those are the sigils to your fleet and your crew.
I have to say, Nadi and Willow, you look like you could be related, don't they? You there's something there. So, but Marla, Marla, don't hesitate in telling us your stories, because they always have this like punchline.
Well, I have to say that I find your stories extremely
You're so kind.
enlightening. No, because it is sort of, we can see into a world that's very different for a lot of us.
They're teaching stories because maybe you don't even know what they mean somehow, but you're telling
She
them.
doesn't. That's the wonderful thing.
Well, sometimes she knows. Come on, give her some credit.
No. But I mean, the whole thing of just sort of it happened to you without you asking for it, without you making stories up upon them.
Just connect, which is what we can all do, right? I want to just thank you so much, because you know what? After our last time together, I felt so free.
Right.
So I really encourage the people.
Marla.
Yeah. And there's more for you here. I'm going to get to that in a bit, but there's even another, let's call it, level for you. But I want to hear Willow's story too.
Yeah, let's hear Willow's story.
Because
is it a recent event, Willow, that you've experienced?
Yes, actually, just about 2 weeks ago. But before I tell that, I just want to weigh in on the whole thing about symbols.
Yes.
Because, also for me, even though maybe you think because I come from like a background where I knew about yoga and herbalism and things like that maybe I was calling for these experiences to happen. They didn't. They hit me over the head with a hammer, and I kept them inside for decades.
So when you were a very young girl, you experienced.
My early 20s, I had my first metaphysical masters come to me, and it doesn't happen all the time. It happens once in a very rare amount of time, and I do pray for it and I do long for it, because when it happens, it's so incredible. But the first time, it just hit me over the head, and I was afraid to tell anyone for decades.
Wow.
So you really didn't talk to anybody about them at all?
A couple very
close friends.
Just close people, like my husband, and just say, this happened to me, please don't think I'm crazy. But I find it was and a few close friends. That's it. And well, anyway, I don't want to go on and on, because I could go on and on. It's a whole book, and I've written some chapters of it. And if anyone would like to hear some of the chapters of the experiences, send me an email.
So you are writing a book?
Well,
about these
slowly, bit by bit. I have about 5 chapters written, and it's
fantastic.
If anyone wants to send me an email, I'd be happy to send you a chapter. It's telepath108@gmail.com. That's my email. And
I'm writing it down.
Oh, good. I'm so looking forward to hearing from you, Marla, and hopefully carrying on a conversation. So also,
your recent experience,
also a few months ago. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, your recent experience. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And a few months ago, I was also hit over the head in a very powerful Reiki session, and these symbols appeared in my mind's eye strongly for about 20 minutes.
Did you draw these? No, these are.
This is actually a book. I didn't know this book at the time. And this is when I started realizing that some connections with Egypt and the Hathors because of thought. And then a few months or weeks after that, I had a vision where it was an initiation dream, lucid dream, where I flew inside of a Merkaba, a violet Merkaba. So that's another of the chapters. But now here is one where I did ask for it. Okay, this thing that happened 2 weeks ago. This is the first time that I've asked for something to happen, and it happened. And that's why I'm excited about it. And in part, it happened because I've been following New Realities and watching a lot of these videos and just being like, why can't I have an experience? and being on with Barbara Lamb that time where we talked about it. I think people have even said, just talk to them, just ask. I wanted to have an ET experience, like a contact experience. My experiences previous to this have been with metaphysical beings, more like angels, if you want to call them that.
Sure.
And a couple of ET ones, but I didn't know if they were just dreams or something more than that. So this time, a few weeks ago, I was just calling to them, and I've been mulling it over for a couple of months. I really want to talk to you, carrying on this conversation in my mind. Won't you come visit me? Come to me. I won't be afraid. Come to my room. You can come to my room, or I can see you out.
Very courageous of you.
Or when I'm driving, you can come and come down and meet me, and I promise I won't be afraid. Or if I am, I'll handle it. You know. So I was having this sort of conversation, and then finally, a few weeks ago, I got real. And as I was thinking about it, I said, "Okay, the honest truth is, I would be afraid. If you showed up in my room, I think I would really be afraid. So
I would.
So I changed my question. I said, won't you please just come to me in a dream, like a lucid dream? I think I would feel a lot more safe if you would come to me in a dream. And I really, really do want to meet a star person from another species of life in the universe." So that night, the very same night, I had a long rambling dream, as some dreams are. And then all of a sudden, at one point in the dream, it's interesting because I was a bride in the dream, and I was having all this trouble trying to get a veil on and a wedding dress. But anyway, at one point in the dream, I walk over into the edge of the forest, and there's a low cliff face in front of me that's got tangly vines and leaves and dripping water. And in the cliff face, there are 3 indentations that are like portals, arched doorways, 2 smaller ones, and 1 taller one in the middle. And they're shallow indentations that look like arched doorways, but everything else is just rock, natural rock, even the interior. They are about a foot deep. So I say, oh, a portal. This is good. And all of a sudden, instead of having this vague, shadowy dream where I'm not feeling very conscious, everything turns into clear light. All my vision becomes clear. I'm awake within the dream. I go and I stand. I'm getting chills just talking about it. I go and I stand in the center portal, the tall one, but I do not face the stone. I just know to turn my body around and face outward. And when I do, what I see is a totally different scene than what there was. It's like on a different planet almost, although it could be Earth, but the sky is a slightly different color. And there's this very verdant, Kelly green, emerald green grass. And there's a sort of sandy cliff in front of me. And there's a little, about 5 foot tall blue being, star person, walking down a path around the side of the cliff down to this little grassy flat area lawn. And I see it. I'm like, oh. And it at the same time it sees me, and it's like stops. It goes, and then I was like, okay, from everything I've been watching, I know the best thing to do now is to show a lot of gratitude. So I'm like, oh my God, you're here. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you're here. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for coming. And I take a few faltering steps towards it, and it takes a few faltering steps towards me. And we were maybe 50 feet apart, and we just slowly come closer and closer. And I'm like, thank you the whole time. And we come closer and closer. And finally we get right in front of each other, and we shake hands, not shake hands, but we clasp hands.
Wow.
Was there a message at all? Maybe that was the message.
That was all. I woke up.
Wow.
I woke up at that moment.
It sounds like that was a part of you, that being you met somehow was you.
That's
Wow. Oh, wait. I didn't wake up. I'm sorry. I forgot. I just remembered another part. The
Okay.
moment we clasped hands, I was in a shadowy, dark space. A comforting, warm, shadowy, dark space that felt close, like a closet. And after that, I woke up, and I'm not done.
and what?
You're all done?
Not done. I'm almost done with the story,
Oh,
but
okay. No, that's okay.
so I was like, wow, that happened. And after I finished the story, I'd love to describe what he looked like as much as possible. And my telepathic, like our sort of communication with our eyes and stuff, how we read each other. But a week later, I went to my physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why she thought to tell me this, but she's like, Willow, something strange happened to someone I ran into the other day at the town square. There was a concert or something. And she told me that a week ago on Tuesday, she saw a spaceship and she had an abduction experience. And she said she described it as being in a shadowy, dark closet space when she was in that spaceship, and she was kind of laughing, and she told me the story, and she was embarrassed. I could tell she was embarrassed, and she was laughing, and she was like, this happened, isn't that weird? I don't know what, but that it had jarred her, and she was kind of scared about it. And I said, that's very strange, because just about exactly a week ago was when I had that.
Maybe you should talk to her, that woman.
I said, get us in touch somehow, but I still haven't heard from her.
But
So
what do you think it was? So you think it was a real ship that this being was on, that this other person may have also was there, but you're more conscious or aware than she was, and she may have misinterpreted.
hers wasn't a dream.
Mm.
Like I asked, that she saw an actual ship. She was awake. She saw the lights of the ship, everything, and so I'm like, why her, not me? But
I don't think what you had was a dream either. I think it was a real experience. They appear as dreams because that's how we interpret these alternate realities. That's one thing I wanted to tell Marla. Also, is that our language for altered states, organic altered states, is either waking or dreaming, but
Exactly.
there's so
many gradations.
Yes, exactly. So
particularly in dreaming, it would seem.
right. And in dreams, most dreams you forget when you wake up, but those dreams that you've had, Willow, and I've had, maybe you've had them, you never lucid forget them.
Lucid, monumental dream. Yeah.
But also these dreams with these beings, they just kind of stand out because they're not dreams. I don't think they're actually. So where are you at now with your blue being relationship?
Well, I think I felt that it was real from the start. I didn't even question that it was a dream. I thought perhaps he had projected himself into my subconscious in the dreaming state, but I felt like this was a real being. And maybe it was a blue avian. I don't know. He was blue. He was around 5 feet tall. He was wearing some sort of thin unisuit. His head was sort of very gently conical, so that maybe it could have been hair. I couldn't tell. I couldn't get a good read on his face. I was just too in awe of the situation. I had a young feeling from him. He felt young. And his eyes felt sort of wider. They weren't like big bulbous eyes or anything. And I can't even recall the rest of his face.
Wow.
I mean, what's interesting is that these particular types of symbols, creatures, appear to quite a lot of people, And so whether it's like going back in history, it's the elf or the fairy or the gnome,
Oh.
It's just very interesting that people talk about these strange looking, the classic kind of rather ridiculous looking alien figure that I'm sure Nadi has had a lot of experience with. But what is it? These figures are appearing. This blue figure I've heard described before so many times.
You have. That's interesting because
Well, you have too.
not so many times, maybe
A
occasionally.
lot of people see that. I've read a lot of these
Really?
in dream. I mean, I personally haven't had any experience at all.
Well, you have in those dreams that you had as a child.
Well, yeah, but they weren't blue.
Right. I
little
haven't
figures
seen
that
blue.
she's describing with this.
But there's
shaped
so
head.
many. They don't have to be aliens. They could be, like Shiva was a blue being,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and
So it's-
Osiris was blue green, and
Arcturians are pretty blue.
and who is
Arcturian.
Arcturians are blue, and Pleiadians are bluish.
Oh.
Bluish.
This one was not humanoid. He was not one of the humanoid ones.
Right.
That
He
was
was human,
surprising to me. I wasn't expecting it.
but he looked human. You said he had a human body, right?
Yeah, but he didn't look human, like a humanoid, like his face. Yeah, body, yes.
But you were going to ask Marla what she makes of this. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to.
Oh, dear God. I don't know. I'm just fascinated by the story.
But when you do you encounter what's your dreaming life like? I'd be curious.
For Marla.
To Marla.
Well,
yeah.
also, I was going to say, Marla, like you go deep and connect with these beings, these, masters. But and that's sort of vertical. I was going to say, could you go horizontal and reach out to dimensions that are planets or beings that are sort of here, but not on those levels. But I think what Willow found was a kind of multidimensional being because he appeared to her as this. But anyway, we're just asking you what you make of this, Marla, and where do you get and
I don't know. I'm so stunned by the story. I'm very inexperienced in all these things. And I'll tell you what else I'm stunned about, which I never thought about. And I love myths and all that. Is that, yes, these same beings have popped up in myths all the time. Why did I never think about that?
Well, you weren't ready to think about it because this is a whole.
You've been busy thinking about other things.
No, but you were working with people on psychic levels and mediumistic, and that's one level. It's sort of like it's like being a kind of astral therapist in a way, but this is a whole other thing that's not about the astral. This is about parallel dimensional spaces and emotional qualities that are not human necessarily in their normal ways of being understood. And for me, colors do have intention and feelings, and there's beings that are made of pure color as well. So I don't know. We're always thinking about who's that? Oh, is that Shiva?
Shiva?
Shiva. Another blue being.
Yeah.
Exactly the same blue.
Really?
Well, there you go. Yeah.
A luminescent blue.
Definitely a star person. Like that was.
You must be really happy you manifested your dream and your manifestation.
Absolutely.
Right, Nadi.
Now I want him to come back. I'm like waiting and
But
I'm like,
what you asked
now.
You asked and you said, okay, I'm because I've done the same thing. I have to admit.
And did you see him?
No, because then I go, actually don't.
Oh, really? Why did you do that?
Because then the thought of actually having something standing at the foot of my, I'm like, no. I'll be really honest. It's like, but you come in the dreams. That's fine.
No, I mean, but it is kind of interesting because it can be a little freaky, but it's like
freaky.
I think we have to get used to it. But Nadi, were you going to say something?
I know. I feel like Nadi's got something on the tip of her tongue.
I really want to hear what Nadi has to say about where this being could have come from.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to claim by any means, and I would agree. You could just ask, just like you did before, and it'll come back as it wants to communicate with you. It's responding. I could go. We could go so many different ways, right? But I love it, Willow. I love it that you ask and this gentle response. And if I understood it correctly, did it feel familiar? Did the being? It seemed like it felt, No, not at all. So it was just gratitude at them at coming. Yeah.
For answering my call and when I got honest, and that was the point. They weren't coming before because I wasn't being honest about not being afraid. But when I said, here's a way I can handle it, here I'm really being honest, and then they did show up. He showed up in it.
And also you had the courage to walk towards it, you know, because that, you know, a lot of people would turn and run away.
But you know what's also
actually a very important part of the experience was the faltering walk, because I was nervous. I was scared. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And he was looking at me, I'm sorry, with exactly the same expression in his eyes, like we were telepathically communicating and having the same feeling as we sort of nervously, scaredly, but with hope, courage, and love walked towards each other. And that's
you got the confirmation that it was real when that therapist said that this person had that dream. So you saw it in a dream state, but it was actually real because the universe told you it was real.
I'm getting chills.
From that story. So you had it both ways. You had it real and it was a dream, but you needed that confirmation. Isn't it amazing how the universe gave you that piece to tell you it was real?
Come back tonight in person. I am ready this time.
In reality, maybe that was a way to prepare for the actual meeting.
Yes, because I was thinking about everything we were talking about, how we are the disclosure, right? We are the contact. So we, as individuals, can reach out and begin to make these connections if we work on it, if we try to. And
Yes.
if they respond.
Yes, Nadi.
I love that, Alan, because we're learning the language and they typically give us confirmation, right? But I've been working under I love Brian Scott and the podcast. It's not really a podcast, it's his channel, Reality Revolution, something like that. And he's got everything. He's got videos on Arseniac and multidimensionality. Check him out. I'm just putting a little plug. And he said something. He said, there is no such thing as fiction, right? And seriously, drop that one. So the dreams, like lucid dreaming, that was absolutely real. In my lexicon, you went somewhere to visit this person. You went to a very real place. And the way I heard it is this being is very related to you, very connected. You know, certainly I just came from a hybrid conference, but that this being, that there was this relational, like they were looking at you like, okay, is she really ready? Are we doing this? Like, is she coming? And I totally agree that one of the pivotal aspects of your story was the gratitude that you were feeling. And that's the frequency that opens connection, right? It's because it's from the heart. This isn't your brain trying to figure out. And that is so awesome that you let yourself hang out there and didn't go like, you know, and try to figure it out so much. It was just so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I really had the sense that this was a being that knew you, that was like the contact specialist that was, you know, to bridge when you had been asking. But I mean, you know, and just also blue avians, really huge beings. I didn't get that feeling from you at all. This felt like,
I didn't get that either.
Yeah, this felt much more relational, much more our size, much more digestible and energetic. And blue typically has to do with, you know, the frequency of our third eye, our vision, you know, and they vibrated, other beings vibrate at that higher frequency, which we see as blue. So all that, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's so beautiful. I feel touched by that being in your interaction.
Yeah. I wanted to say too that this talking about the history of all these blue beings, right? As a friend is sending me different.
That's a blue being.
Well, this is an Irish leprechaun, for instance.
Bluish.
Blue. But there are many, and in the
a friend just sent that to you just now.
So there are lots throughout history in different cultures. Irish leprechaun, blue, the Mayan Cheneque. I think that Cheneque. So the Mayan culture, you know, here they're often blue. I mean,
Mm.
just to show you,
Well, the inner
For
earth
instance.
beings are blue too.
right?
If you believe in inner earth, they say they're bluish because of the high copper content in the water makes the beings inside the earth bluish. But there's also a comment from Jenny in the YouTube chat says, I visit the astral every night and now even during the day, communicating with other beings, becoming a constant part of my existence now. I didn't realize there were different phenomena than, I guess, ETs. Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jenny. Well, yeah, they were different. You didn't finish that sentence. I didn't realize that they were different phenomena than. Anyway, I had a strange dream last night, actually, if you want to. It's kind of in a different direction,
Now go on, take
But-
us
Let's
there.
hear it.
but I just woke up. It was very strange. Anyway, here, that's just too much light. So I usually dream that I'm at these gatherings, with people and I was at, you do?
Mhm.
Maybe it was just, but it was somewhere in the countryside. But this woman who I was very connected with, we had a spiritual marriage. Actually, she had died about 6 months ago in life.
This is a true story.
It's a true
It's
story
in
that she
real
actually
life.
died. But
Yeah.
in the dream, she comes back to life and into this gathering, and she says she's been resurrected. And she was a really spiritual being. And I say, look, Paula's been resurrected here. And she looks like, and she sort of uses the word resurrected, and she's there back to life. I mean, I actually saw her. I told the funeral director, can I just see her dead? Because I hadn't seen her since she had died. And then there was definitely no one home,
Uh-huh.
but there she was resurrected, and they're
And
using
alive.
and alive in a way. And she's like, and we're talking, we're feeling close. And she says, make sure I don't bleed because that will ruin the resurrection. She can't, this was just a strange message that came. She could not bleed anywhere. It's how people just cut themselves accidentally. She said, make sure I don't, because that will ruin the resurrection. So anyway, so the end of the dream was she was just lying down, sort of sleeping, but there was this definite presence. And then she actually appeared a couple of months ago in a dream. She said, look, I'm almost healed because, but in this dream, she actually had come back into this world. What do you make of that, Marla, the resurrection of my old girlfriend, Paula?
Your wife.
My
Paula.
wife, my spiritual wife. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's interesting to me that make sure that I don't.
Yes, I
bleed.
couldn't figure that out. Make sure I
Yeah,
don't
what does
get
that
cut.
mean?
I
What
don't
does that
know, but
mean? I don't know.
David.
no, it's like, make sure, yeah, her body was maybe different. There's that story of Jesus that when he ascended in there with his disciples around, he said, don't touch me because I'm in a different vibration. It was like somehow the maintaining of this new body, this resurrected body, just needed to be made whole. I don't know. I don't know what that means, actually.
How did she die, Ellen?
She had breast cancer for a long time, and then she just it was very peaceful. She just went in her sleep. But I was with her days before that, but she was alone. Yes.
It does sound like another lifetime that you were together. It does. It has that feeling for sure.
Maybe it was, but she had came in this dream in this lifetime. So but we're still very close. Actually, after she died, I was right in that spot where she had gone, spent her last moment. And I felt her presence so strongly. I'm sure this happens to you a lot, Marla, but she was right there. We were practically, it was almost like it was quite physical, the sensation of her beingness. Yes. So that was a different experience of people, for me, of people who have passed over. So we had that closeness. Yeah.
I have a question for Marla again. Do you have quite a lot of communication with the departed?
Well,
You do.
Yes,
that's what she does, right? That's one of your
I
services.
love it. It's one of my things. And you know what? I love it because it's always so hopeful. And I'm just going to tell you one thing that everybody, I mean, I have read for people who are not from here and they go elsewhere when they pass. But let's just say most of us kind of go to what seems to me the same sphere with many levels in it. And I just see over and over and over again that people are completely cared for in the way that's best for them. I'd love to give you an example. Poor things having to hear my stories, but this is such a
story's good.
story. I'm going to try to keep it short because it's kind of a long thing. But this woman was.
Before you do that, Marla, I was just wondering, but while it's still fresh, do you get anything from my friend Paula? Like, do you get anything?
I didn't, but I was kind of stunned by it.
Oh, but I was just wondering if you could tune in and get anything about
happy and healthy and radiant and very busy doing good works. Very busy, very busy, very busy. Hardly has time to speak to us, but I'm kidding about that a little bit, but she watches you. She's doing two things at once all the time. I don't think she means by location. I think she means like focused in one area and then, but you know what it's all about, and this is an old-fashioned term, but it's all about good works.
Right. And that was what her life was about. I mean, sometimes misguided good works, but good works nevertheless. But
intention counts for a lot.
Yes. Yes. But anyway, and nothing about that dream. You get anything about that? I mean, without like trying to figure out, but without the mind, like any just hits about.
No, I just thought where she was, which is what I got when you were talking now. Just the same thing. So busy, good works. The dream itself, I don't know, that seemed very symbolic to me and more mental and more symbolic than. Right.
Then, but it had this kind of spiritual quality, almost religious quality.
Yeah.
Action.
Yes, that was the term that she used. Yes. And maybe I used it.
Yeah.
In the dream. But what's that, Willow? Yes.
No, I heard that Mary Magdalene was resurrected. Recently I heard this.
Maybe.
And that she lived on as a sort of like one of those yogi figures that lives for thousands of years in different various ways of the appearances and things like that in the south of France. I don't know why this is reminding me of that. Maybe
I think a lot. Yeah, there's a divine feminine is being resurrected too on the planet. So, you know, right?
Oh, that's a very nice thought.
Yes. Yes. That's what the Pista Sophia is actually about. The ancient Gnostic gospel, not gospel, but it was a Gnostic text, Pista Sophia, holy faith, about Sophia being rescued supposedly by Jesus and brought back into the world as the divine feminine. But yeah.
Well, just a question about the departed that Marla meets often, right?
Yeah.
Do you in your experience, are they they're still with us and helping us, etc.? They're still sort of
what,
or is it?
Yes, I could go on about this forever.
You were going to tell us a story about that.
Tell us a story.
Tell us a story, Marla, about that.
All right. Well, do you want to hear about how they help us, or do you want to hear how they're supported? Which one do you want to?
Well, they're both interesting.
Whichever one, yeah, they're both interesting. Whichever one.
I mean, I can get how they. Yeah.
I think this story is a perfect example of how, when we get over there, wherever that is, that we are 100% supported. All right. So this woman was a very poor mother. Mainly due to neglect. Her family had a lot of money, but they the client told me that they never actually had one meal together as a family, never, her entire life, unless they were having company over for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. So there was no closeness. There was a lot of conflict between the siblings. It was just, but the mother was really very absent. But the mother was also a high level porcelain dealer. And I'm talking about museum level, not just collecting little things, from gift stores. So I connect with her, and I'm very surprised to find her in like a Geppetto's workshop, a very simple, because I'm visual, I often get a scene or a setting, very simple wood floors, wood walls, wood ceiling. And there were chairs hanging on the wall, like on big hooks. And she was standing looking very elegant, by the way, kind of, black turtleneck, like classic sort of artist kind of look, but that's not important. And she was standing with about 4 chairs around her. Now, I kind of remembered at this moment that she was a high level antiques dealer. I confirmed that with the client. And then I asked this woman, the mother, why she was there with all these cheap chairs. Because
But you're asking her on the other side. So you're seeing her on the other side and you're saying, why are you there with all those cheap
chairs?
Interesting. Yes.
Cheap. They were like chairs that, whatever, they were cheap, old, used chairs, by the way. So they were antique, but not in any valuable way. And they were all mismatched. There were no like sets, whatever. It doesn't matter. So she didn't want to talk to me at all, but I'm an intrepid interviewer, if not intrepid in other things. And I just nicely persist, especially with cats who always pretend they don't want to talk to me. I just persist until I get something.
So you're just hanging out in the astral there, and you're saying, "Talk to me, lady. I'm here." And
I'm just nicely pushing. I'm nice.
okay.
But I'm persistent.
You're
So
very
she showed me, let's just say this is the chair. And she showed me when she touched the chair that there was a glowing connection between her finger and the chair. And so I didn't know what that meant. I asked her, are you repairing the chairs? What are you doing? And she said, no, the chairs are teaching me. And what the chairs were teaching about what they were teaching her was about family relationships. This is so beautiful symbolically. So an object she could cope with, an object she could interact with. Had she gone to the other side and all her friends and relatives would have been like, hi, we missed you, we love you. I mean, for a woman who's very cold and shut down, we can imagine that might have been overwhelming. Those are my thoughts. But what she did is every time, this is so beautiful, every time she communicated with one of those chairs, the chair would show her the role of the person in the family that always sat in that chair. Now, we grew up, those of us who had dinner with our families, didn't we always sit in the same chair?
Yes, I was just thinking about that as you were talking. I always had the same.
Everybody has their chair, and the father.
And the father's there, and my mom, and before my little brother was born, my parents asked me, I must have been 5 years old, where is he going to sit? I said, in that chair. I remember that.
Oh.
Yes.
So this is exactly what
Family
she
meal.
learned.
Gathering.
Through the chairs, which is something that she was comfortable with,
Yes.
start to learn about interrelation in a family. What do you do when everybody's happy? What do you do when there's conflict? What are our relationships? How do we connect, right? So isn't that the most beautiful story about what happens when you cross over and you're cared for? In the way that you really need, not in the way that we might assume that someone would need. And I asked her, well, how long are you going to be there? Because she's learning for a reason, right? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, will you leave there? And she said, yes. And I said, where will you go? And she said, I don't know, but I'll know the time. And when the time is right, I will know where to go.
Wow. But don't you think those chairs are really just symbols of the soul? They're not, she's projecting from a soul level onto those objects in order for her soul to teach that human personality, the lessons of that life experience. So, yeah. So it's interesting. That's how we project symbols onto the world, what we need to know all the time.
Yeah, and also she was a very lonely woman in this life, right? And then she was, becoming part of a family unit and gathering and tribe. And is what I'm making.
And maybe those chairs,
which is important.
And she was an antique dealer, you said, right?
High level antique dealer.
So she
That is
related.
why I knew there was something going on with those
the cheap
chairs.
No, but she related to
like that.
things more than people, and maybe
Exactly right.
And so that was somehow more important to her in this life. Maybe the things were talking to her on levels that people couldn't. That's why people have dogs, because or cats, they're unconditional, whereas people are pretty conditional.
Objects do not judge, do they?
Right.
In and of themselves. But yes, I think you're right. The gateway, the chairs, however we think of them symbolically or, in a little more realistic way, I think it's such a lovely experience. And certainly they were the gateway to experiencing a greater fullness of self, yes, within the soul.
Wow.
I completely agree.
It is.
That's one of your really good stories, Marla.
Yes.
They're all
great.
You're so sweet to me. You're so sweet.
No.
We had another one.
That's how people are taken care of after, but there was the other part you were saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is so good. So there was an alternative doctor. Now, this was just say a patient of this doctor asked me to look at him, and I always then go to the doctor or the person themselves to ask permission, because the patient doesn't really count as permission, right? Like a husband or a wife or a parent counts as permission. Just had to say that. Okay, so I see him on the other side, and he shows me. Sorry, I should step back once. He was a famous alternative holistic doctor that died very suddenly, and nobody ever knew why he died. And she was a longtime patient. She was bereft and also very curious about what. I don't remember if I got anything about the death, because that's not important to the story. The story is that he showed me, he was like a kid in a candy store. He showed me that he had access to every bit of medical knowledge that ever had existed anywhere in the entire universe, and he could just dive into places. Okay, that's the first part. The part where he was helping is that he showed me that he worked with 3 different teams of doctors and researchers, and that they were working like crazy. I mean, like like really hurrying, really working so hard, and then trying to get the information that they researched, came across ideas down to the medical and medical researching scientific community here. And I found that really so inspiring, that teams of people would be working to help us medically advance.
Wow. Well,
good.
But Marla, don't you think you have that resource now? If someone comes to you with some sort of illness, you could go back to that guy and say, okay, what can we do for him? I mean, I'm just suggesting if that's what you want to get into, because you probably could do that.
I think that would be me artificially placing a goal or an agenda onto someone else. I think what I would do with someone who came to me was to dive into where they are
Yeah.
Right.
and not me saying I need to bring someone here to help them.
No, it's just like a
Not that I
resource.
wouldn't ask for help, but
It's sort of just what Edgar Casey did, brought back a lot of
yeah.
remedies and that are really beneficial still,
yes,
100 years later for the world to, take care of
yes.
it. I mean, I use it. I use the Edgar Casey devices all the time, and they're just amazing, fantastic.
What are they?
The radial device, which are these two different metals. One is copper, the other is nickel. You put it in cold water, it creates this electrical charge. That is the frequency of the body and just brings the body back into balance. It's fantastic.
And how do you use it?
It's in a battery, put it in cold water, and then you hook these like pads to your wrists and your ankles, and it generates this current. And that was something, it's called a Radiac battery, and something Edgar Casey created.
And you feel when you do
I
that,
feel
you feel it works.
Incredible. I feel so well rested. It's fantastic.
Really?
You should get one of those. Yes. It's the Radiac.
Balanced.
It's the Radiac device. I don't know. I just thought I'd tell. That's one of my secrets, but no, it's not. It's not a secret, really. It's in the literature, but there's lots of energetic devices that we have forgotten about or yet to discover. Like homeopathy was a vibrational remedy that Hahnemann, interesting, his name was Hahnemann, discovered, created, because he studied vibration. So there's so much healing that we could tap into from these other realms.
Do you do that too, Marla? Do you see physical illnesses in people? Do you see that or not so much? I mean, I know some people call themselves sort of medical mediums. They can actually pinpoint where there's disease in the body. Does that happen for you? Or?
Well, I don't know how, I don't know if that's what I excel at. I'll just give you an example, though, of how I got the right information, but the wrong location. So a client called me the other day and her cat was ill, and she already knew that the cat had thyroid issues. And I did see that the thyroid was lit up. And so, but how am I to know? I mean, I asked, first of all, I always give a disclaimer because obviously I'm not a medical person of any kind. And so I just always say, don't listen to me. But what I did get about this cat is I kept seeing that it was a bone problem. Now, what I saw was the cat sideways with the skeleton showing me that there was a problem. And I felt that it was serious. And I felt that she just had the cat at the vet, but that the vets weren't getting it to it. And she really needed to push them. She's a great cat mommy. She made the appointment. She went the next day. Now there was a problem in the bone. The poor kitty had bone cancer in the jaw. But that's not what I saw. I saw the whole skeletal and got the word that it was in the bones or those words.
Right.
So that's an example of getting like good information, but good
Not
thing that the poor kitty
specific.
didn't get, entire body x-rays.
Mm.
Right? So I don't know that if that's an area where I excel. But who knows? You know what? We all excel at all of these things.
Or we develop, perhaps you're developing, you probably could develop in that area, but where you're very, developed is in different ways. I mean, I know that from my personal experience with you.
Well, what I do, and then we don't have to talk about me anymore, but what I do is I address medical issues in terms of energy. So what I would prefer to do is put the person in front of me and look for the energy spots where there might be problems, where there's no flow, where energy is needed. And so that's how I like to address physical illnesses or when somebody feels stuck or blocked or
blocked or low or depressed or
Right.
confused.
That's an area that I feel confident about, and that I work long distance always. So, I mean, I did do it early in my career. I did do it hands-on, but years and years and years, I do it at a distance, and it works and it helps. And so that's my approach to.
And I think we can all do it too. But wait, I just wanted to ask.
We can, Ellen.
Right. No, I think we can, and we are learning that. No, I just wanted to ask Nadi about Breon Scott and the reality revolution. Can you talk about that, Nadi?
Otherwise pronounced Brian.
Brian, sorry. You wrote it wrong first. Oh, Brian.
Yeah, no, Brian Scott. He is a really cool dude. He's got probably about 200 episodes, and he had a near-death experience, and he got in that moment that he had to disseminate the information and some of the more esoteric teachings, of Edgar Cayce. Like I said, Barbara Marciniak, Bringers of the Dawn. He has so many series on Willow, lucid dreaming, on astral travel, on remote viewing, so many channelings. And he distills things down into really digestible episodes. And I just love them. Like, if you want any kind of hit about any of the more esoteric channels, and, I don't think he does Bashar, but I'm just, the one that got me the most was The Law of One. He does this awesome series and just breaks it down. And then if you go to his website, Reality Revolution, super cool. So he just got that download when he died, and he came back. He's like, here's my job.
Really? So can you give us a little more examples of what he talks about and does?
Yeah. So basically, I'm just looking really quick. He does. So I have used a lot of his information in my classes, and I actually have his YouTube channel linked, and I'm just trying to find it. He's my he's my go-to guy for information. And let me see. I think that this is going to go a little wonky for me to try to find this, but I'm just looking because he talks a lot about hacking reality, right? And so he's got all of these, and he's got these really great meditations on not only multidimensionality, but positive affirmations and creating the law that you want. And so here's Rudolf Steiner's information. He's got there's that one. Messages from the trees, activating the star seed for the new earth, unlimited abundance now, the law of one, accelerating personal information. It's just so many. He's got 10-minute quantum meditations, just so cool. So check him out. There's the Merkaba activation, shifting to a new earth, the one original thought, how to prepare for the coming alien arrivals. You name it, this guy does it, and he's super cool. And I've been, kind of working with him for a little while.
Does any of that make sense to you, Marla? Or is that like a whole other thing?
It all makes sense to me, Alan.
Okay.
But it all makes sense to me. I'm looking him up right now too. I'm looking him up.
Yeah, when we started, when I hopped on, we were talking about how important it is to have the dialogue, to have the information, to be talking about it. That's the same mission. That is what we are supposed to be doing is, we are the bridges, those of us who have had experiences, those of us who have senses, to be having the conversation, to be initiating these talks into mainstream, to be the bridge. That's what he's doing. So many, there's so many of, Joe Rogan does his own version of it, right? Like, we're just getting the conversation going. It's fundamental. It's part of what we're being shown we have to do. Like, it's not business as usual anymore. We've got to be having new conversations, new realities.
And Alan Steinfeld, yay!
Yep.
Well, I think I like doing it. I like exploring the unknown. And Marla, I think you are a great resource. And I feel like there's these new avenues for you that are
I'm
different
sure
types,
there are.
but these different types of beings want to talk with you or through you. You know, it's not just astral. There's beings that, yeah, Willow, yes. What were you saying? What were you thinking, Willow? Wait, unmute, Willow, unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt, but I got very excited because you were talking about the different types of beings and Marla having contact with all of them. And I realized I really, really, really have a big question for Marla if there's time.
Yes, we have.
Finish what
Yes.
you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, wait,
I
Nadia,
have to go. It's been so wonderful. I'm sorry to miss whatever exciting thing you're going to say, Willow, but thank you
Well,
for including me in the conversation.
watch it on
Nadi, so
replay.
happy to see you again.
Good to
And
see
come
you,
next
Marla.
Wednesday, and we're all invited next Wednesday. Yeah, so,
Great. I'll be back. I love it.
okay.
Email me anytime you want, Nadi.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Willow. Take care, Henrietta. Bye, Alan.
Thank
Bye,
you. Talk to you soon. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Willow, what were you saying?
Well, I have a question for Marla. Is it a good moment for that?
And it's a perfect moment for
Okay,
it.
great. Marla, if you're open for it, I want to hear from the anthroposophical beings, my angels who gave me the vision of all creation, because it's hard going through the 3D and not being able to have as clear a channel as they gave me during that amazing. They gave me a 5-hour vision of
Wow.
creation, and that was like 2 years ago. And I know that I can get little communications here and there, but I haven't been sitting with a psychic seer, and I would just love to hear if you can connect with them. It's a male and a female. They can be 300 feet tall, or they can be normal size. They wear long robes, and
Well, I do have, oh, sorry.
that's it. They're gentle and they're wise. They know all of creation. They can stand outside of creation and show it to you even.
Well, wait till you hear what they have to say for you. I'm just going to tell you what I get. That you are the same as they are. And what they gave you in that download was like a primer or a textbook, not like you're a kindergartner, but got to start somewhere. I have a little bit of a sassy style when I read, and I make a lot of bad jokes. So
I love that.
Do you mind if I take notes? I'm going to take notes.
No, of course. So, okay, number one, so I have to get back to where I was. Number one, do not see them as bigger than you are. Number two, they gave you that book. They show me that it's like a book, and that was enough information to last you the rest of your life. But the big thing here is, I don't know if you're writing currently. Well, you said you are writing, but it would be wonderful if you could write that and get all that down. That would be really helpful to people who live on the planet. The other thing is, they say, okay, I'm sorry to be so blunt.
It's okay.
Please, anything, even if it's something I need to work on, I'm open for it all.
Pretty strong.
So sweet.
She is.
The self-deprecating has to stop.
Wow.
You are equal to them.
Just hit herself in the head.
You are equal to them. Like, they weren't sharing with you like they're big and you're some small human being. I know you said that they can, and I see this on the other side a lot, especially animals love to show me how big they can be. So I understand the shrinking and growing, but Willow, and this is very, very, very important. The information that you got, you understood it. That's what they tell me. You understood it. You understood every image. You understood every word. You understood the energy. Yes, they're asking you to write it, but also, and this is the most important point, that you're living it. You're the embodiment of what they taught you. They taught you as friends and as equals because you needed it, just like you would give them anything that they needed. What they really want for you to do is just know that you're living this stuff. You're breathing it, you're living it, and that you are a vessel for this kind of information, but it doesn't mean that you won't get this information, this kind of information again. But like, who cares if you do, or who cares if you don't, or who cares how it comes to you? You live what you know, and this is the most important thing about your life.
Okay.
Yes.
It all makes perfect sense. It's incredible. Incredibly spot on. I'm so glad
That's the nail on the head.
I really needed to hear all of
That's Mack fitting the nail on the head.
Well,
I do want you to write the download that you got.
I have, and I'll send it to you. What I want is a publisher so that more people can hear it, because
I think that's really, really important. And well, I won't go on, but I think also, do you have a friend who does filmmaking? Because it seems like there was a lot of visual stuff in there, and it would be great to see if you can get some of that out visually, or I don't know if you draw, or but there was so much visual transmission.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's out. I have tried to make connections with graphic artists, trying to find ones who can handle to do 3D animation of the type that's needed for this. But so far I haven't not found the right one. But you know, if I what I need is like an actual publisher or you know, filmmaking company, people who have those kind of connections and can get the kind of people with that kind of skill on board, who can then, you know, get paid to do the 3D animation.
This is well, I think you might be going in the back door through that a little bit, like get like, I don't know, I see like one man who can, he looks young, who can just get some video down, like even if it's not animation, just get some video down, even if it's sources from other videos, like even if it's clips from things that have already been done, it'll make you feel so much better to get something visual out there. And Alan, I noticed that you have a publisher, but you know, I'll just say that most people, including myself, are, you know, most of us have to self-publish now.
Right.
And
yeah,
it's just the way of
I'm
the
looking at
world.
My publisher is open though to new ideas. I think he looks at a lot of things, and he, you know, this one guy who works for St. Martin's Press was quite a visionary. And so I don't know, I can make an introduction possibly. See,
I feel like there's how many chapters, or what kind of volume do you have in this about that?
Like 4 chapters completed and like 3 semi-completed and others outlined.
Great, because I feel like 10 is the right number.
Okay, well, okay, I can do that. And I just want to say you're right about the guy who does film. It's my son's father. He Morgan Harris, his grandfather won an Oscar for developing time-lapse photography.
wow.
Wonderful is that.
Family, he grew up as part of the Mystic Fire video family, which has now, you know them, Alan. Sheldon Rockland and Maxine Harris's son.
Yeah, I think I knew Sheldon actually.
Maxine's son, and Sheldon was his stepfather. Yeah,
Right.
so that's why my son is named Rockland.
Wonderful.
But yeah, they did a lot of very beautiful consciousness raising through their work in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s before things
Right.
changed.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? I do want to say one more thing, if you don't mind. The reason that it's important to just get something on video, even if it is somebody editing other clips that you can just relate to, is that you'll have a kind of visual diary of it. But you know, I always see this, and I don't see it on my own, but when I look at someone's life, I see that our technology is going to be so fun, and that there are going to be ways of storytelling that we either can't imagine or we only see them in movies right now. So I imagine someday the way you're going to tell that story is maybe not so different than how you received it, you know, as a mixture of visual and words, and maybe kind of having a three-dimensional effect to it. So yeah, I'm sorry to boss you around, but please do that book and try to get it finished in 6 months. Maybe you could call me tomorrow and say the same thing to me, only to get it done in a week. But I'm kidding about that. I'm only kidding. No, try to get it done within 6 weeks, and then Ellen's Connection or whatever, but just
Well, you can put it in the chat. Put your email in the chat. And also, Marla, there might be people watching who might want to have a session with you. How do they find you?
Everything is at marlalombard.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the Marla
Except most of my stories are not in there.
Lombard.
But they probably should be.
That way. Yeah. Well, now you're writing your books. Now you're writing your books with your stories in there.
Yeah. One more thing I just wanted to show you before we go, because we've been doing this for like almost 2 hours, and it's all been great. It's
Loved it.
Well, I want to show you these multi-dimensional beings. This woman, I have Nadi, who's really a big fan of this woman, Kamara Jones. Do you see
She's
this?
an artist.
Do you see this on your screen? Like, do you see these beings?
Ooh,
Beautiful.
This is light language. Do you get anything when you look at these figures here? I mean, do you get like a communication? I do. I mean, I don't know what I do.
What do you get? Tell us.
No, I can't say it in words. It's more
I
like
know.
this abstract impression of something that's beyond words. So,
You see,
do you have
don't-
words for this?
No, I mean, they don't.
They don't talk to you?
No,
They don't?
no.
Why not?
I mean,
They
it's
talk
just a
to
personal
me.
thing. I don't.
You don't resonate with
No.
I totally do. Oh, well.
No,
Oh,
but that's fine.
No, I
I'm
know
just
it's
saying.
fine, but it's.
It reminds me a little bit of the vision, and how the vision was talking about the codes and the interconnectedness of being and how complex it is, but how
Mhm. Do you get anything from this,
Marla.
Marla?
I find it completely overwhelming with information. Like I wouldn't even know where to start. Like just one tiny part of that is so wow. I don't even.
Yeah, the pattern's very interesting.
Well, this is the work of
Here.
Kamara Jones. I think it's so multi-dimensional, so
I do too.
incredible. There's information here that I think she's trying to communicate with everyone from these beings that are, because this is how I saw the beings when I was regressed back to my abduction. I saw beings that had these big eyes and no other facial features. And then when I came across this, like, oh my God, those are the,
Wow.
yes, those are the beings, but you don't,
Wow.
I suppose it's different for everybody.
yeah, you probably had different beings.
I think there is so much information in there. I wouldn't even know where to start. And I don't have words either.
Right, but you get that there's something there for us,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I think there's something huge there.
I know. I know.
No, I think there's so much in there that it's bigger than huge. And I think you're right. It's so super 3D resonating throughout the layers. I mean,
Well, it's like 5D, it's like
Yeah.
10D or something. It's just so fantastic. So
and there's a lot of history in there too.
what do you mean
This
history?
is what we do, and this is what you do, and this is
Oh, interesting.
it's
I
a
didn't
cave
get-
painting in a way.
Yes, it is like a cave painting for the multidimensional super consciousness. But
Here's
But-
how it all works, and here's the stories, all the individual stories connected.
and you know, the story is there, but it's all there at once also.
Yes.
Yeah, so
If only we could decode that. But you know what?
we
Oh my God,
could.
listen to me. Now you can't get me off, Ellen.
That's
Okay,
okay. You'll just have
but-
to live here with us.
This
I'm
is
the most private person in the world to now. Okay, but listen,
it's good.
You-
That's the whole.
you understood everything in there. I understood everything.
You
did.
understood everything. You did.
No, we all did. I mean,
I think you're
okay,
right.
maybe Henrietta, because it didn't speak to you.
Henrietta. You have to.
I
open-
did not.
Henrietta didn't even like them. I love them, but I don't.
I look well. I'm a great art lover, but I'm
Was
very
it too
specific.
disturbing for you?
No, it doesn't have a powerful effect on me. I see them as kind of
What?
well, but that's
just
just
don't
very
re-
personal.
You don't resonate
It's
with
not
it.
like looking at a Rothko
Oh, really? I don't
or
get.
a
Right.
Af Klimt or something like
Right.
that. You know, and you know that, Marla, art's your
But
specialty.
you got
It's just a
something from
personal
that,
thing.
Marla.
What
Marla,
about Willow?
what did you get,
I
Willow?
don't look at it. It is art, but that's not how I'm seeing it.
Me too.
Right.
Me too.
I'm
Me too.
seeing it as a message.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I was seeing it. Not as, well, it is beautiful. I think they're beautiful because they're so multidimensional, but there's something that is coming from message from like
Transmission.
a transmission,
Yeah.
a communication,
Can you
and
feel it radiating out through your,
the I do, but and a sort of initiation almost. Like here, I'll put this one.
Yes.
Initiation of sorts.
Initiation.
Like something.
Initiation.
She has hundreds of them. Art Soldier 77 on Instagram for people interested. Kamara Jones, these are the images. And I just did an interview with her that's also on and she's a very smart, intelligent, like she is a hybrid, actually, this person.
what is a hybrid?
Hybrids are those that really have joined in with merged with an alien consciousness, who really feel like they're more cosmic than human. You know, they don't quite relate to the human drama. This is how I'm interpreting it.
Mhm.
I'll send you my
Oh God,
talent-
I'm a hybrid.
You are a hybrid. I'm a
I just
hybrid.
realized that.
You
Yeah,
might be a hybrid, or no? No,
I
she's very,
look to the human drama.
she's very English. That's what
Okay, you guys, I have an idea.
yes.
Okay. Now, you know how we've talked about how we don't have language for
Yeah.
these things. And
Right.
so I keep thinking like, how are we going to get new words into our language that eventually are going to mean something? And I don't know, I'm not saying this is a brilliant idea, but I think it would be really fun to try. Okay, what if in our next contact experiences, whatever they are, like if I'm doing a reading and I feel like I'm connected with some kind of, source, let's ask them like what their name is, where
Yes.
they are, try to get some new words.
Information.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend who does that. Missy, her name's Missy Galore. She used to be in the East Village. And she has a word
Misty
called,
galore. What else do we need to know?
Well,
that name
well, you
is
need to know some of the words she uses. One is prayerformance. And
Oh, I love that.
some other words, they're not coming.
Forming with prayer.
Exactly. I don't know. She has lots of, I don't know. There's lots of those types of combinations. So new words with new meanings. But I know what you're saying. Let's ask for new language for these bigger ideas that we actually don't, like those pictures. There are probably words or something to name them, but of course, naming them, you take away from the essence of what it is too, right?
Mhm.
Because
That I think is true about
Yeah.
that. But how are we going to get this new language?
well, it's intuitive,
It
it's
is.
telepathic, it's sensing, it's symbolic, it's beyond the human realm. And there are probably words that need to be developed.
Brought into life.
Yes, like didn't Sri Aurobindo talk about that?
Yes.
Sri Aurobindo's work.
Mhm.
That's part of Henrietta's essay in the book. But is there anything you want to leave us with, Henrietta? Like any words of encouragement? Sorry you didn't like the art.
No. No, I was just wanted to share personally that it didn't
That's okay.
hit me like it did you, but I'm fascinated that it did to all three of you,
Mm.
and probably to many people out there.
Right.
So none of us should feel bad if
Yeah, no,
the
that's
group is having an experience and we think we're not having the experience.
Right.
I'm
It's-
all about this, sorry.
I know, me too.
strangers,
I'm all about this encouragement that,
the word grok.
grok.
That's a word, right? That was given to us to
Yes.
understand
Well,
something.
There are words coming into, download. No one talked about downloads 20 years ago. And now it's like
True.
mean something, right?
that's true.
On all
Yeah.
the computer technical.
Yes, all the tech
technological
stuff is
terms.
becoming symbolic for
in a
human
different
relation.
way. Yeah.
Yes, we're
Metaphors.
yes, metaphors for interactions among beings. So I think there is new language. That's what that movie Arrival was about.
Yeah.
Learning. There's a linguist who talks to these alien beings and trying to understand.
Interpreting
Yes.
symbols.
Oh my goodness, I have to watch that.
And
You do.
for that
Watch
reason.
it again.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm happy then, Ellen.
Well, and do you get anything from the parallel beings instead of the vertical, the horizontal realms?
I'll
the one-
work on that, Ellen, for next time.
Yeah, because I think they're right next to me here. You're not they're like this way.
Well, I did have that thought about Willow's interesting experience. That
Yeah.
she didn't go through the portal. All she had to do was go to the portal and then turn around. So
And
that
that's what-
speaks to a horizontal interdimensional experience, right?
Yes.
Because
yes.
Marla, usually you go through something, right?
I feel like I meet it. Meet
Wait,
it.
lost
Like
you.
if I do mediumship reading, I meet them at the border.
At the
Oh,
border.
because you don't want to go into the border without getting back out, right?
You know me so well. No, I don't
No,
know.
it's
I think we can meet and have a really great chat. And yeah, I can pop in there for a little while, or they can show me things, but I don't, except for that one guy, the monk.
Right. I love
That I had to go see, but the rest of it, I don't have to go in there, and I'm lazy. Maybe
met him.
that's it.
No, I think it's more like you don't want to be in that realm too long because you might decide to stay or whatever. Not even that. You just might be sucked in. So you just want to visit, but you just
Stay on your
Yeah,
side.
we've got a
of the
lot
border.
of places to go. We can't go spend a lot of time in one place.
right. But
I'm
there's
just kidding.
No, there's so many realms that are just opening up now. That's the threshold I think we're at now, and what making contact's about. So many other realms. Do you have my book, Willow? Did you get my book?
I'm going to.
You don't have to. Don't feel
No,
like.
I want to. I've been meaning
There
to.
you go. Look. Yes, thank you, Marla.
I got mine today in the mail.
All right.
Oh,
And you know what? It's a
Great.
hardback. It's really nice, the
It is.
hardback.
And open
I'm
up the
gonna order it
inside
tonight.
page. Open up read. Can you read that for a second?
Yeah, I'm going to read it because that was such a nice surprise. There it is. I don't, you can't see it because of my background.
Also gonna
Take a
put this-
peek into forever, where the spirit of adventure can transcend the boundaries of belief and reveal the unknown. And then on the next page that's still at the in the cover, it awaits your discovery.
Right. Isn't that good? Isn't that like
I was so thrilled with that, Ellen.
I actually have to say I wrote those words, but I didn't know the publisher was going to put that on the cover.
on
I
the
didn't know
first
that.
couple of
And that
pages.
was so good.
It was a great idea because you don't, yes, it was a great idea.
It was. So that's the doorway in, is discovery. Just like this conversation,
Exploration.
we didn't know what was going to happen or be said, but we're here to explore, right, Willow? You're calling in those beings.
Absolutely.
You have to tell us the next time they show up, okay?
Oh, I of course I will. Please come soon. I love our interactions.
And maybe Marla, they'll come into your reality instead of you going into their reality. It's time you were visited, right? You're always visiting other people.
That's
It's time you
true.
had some visitors. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I've worked very hard. I'll just tell you this one thing. I've worked
Yeah.
very hard to keep them out of my space. So I had one guy who, it was a medium reading, and he hadn't passed away too long ago. I don't know how long it was, months. It was his daughter, my client, and he said to me at the beginning, I'm the great communicator. I'm the great communicator. He was so excited to have someone to talk to, and he started cussing right away. Away. And I didn't want to say it to the client because I didn't want to be, Finally, I told her he was cussing the whole time. She goes, oh, that's totally my dad. Like, now I know it's really him. But here's the point of the story. I couldn't get rid of him. And I said, all right, but you have to go and stay outside on the other side of the window.
Right. But what about
I
beings?
couldn't get rid of him.
But those are beings still stuck in the human realm. What about visitors from ascended masters and dimensional beings?
Why can't they just come talk to me, Alan? I don't know.
Well, you have to. I think
Maybe they can.
They are. They are. If you want them, it's like you have to kind of switch horses in a sense. Like you're
Right.
It's like it's just a different frequency.
It
But
might
yes.
be because you're already doing their work too. So they
Yes.
they have come to talk to you.
good.
Maybe you're just not
Yeah.
aware of it
Yes.
because you're
Yes.
doing their work. And so they're like, oh, well, she's got it already. She's got it under
That's
control.
Or maybe they can. I mean, I love
were-
you, Alan, for pushing me. You push me all the time. And
I just
love
met you twice.
But I know we've only been together twice. It seems like forever. Okay, but in a good way, Alan.
Okay.
But what if I feel like they're out there just because that's how my brain works best?
Right.
Like Willow, they said, is embodying it every day. Well, what if
Right.
that's how her system works best in
No, I
Each system is
yeah, I
different.
don't know what's right for you. Maybe they are out there for you, or maybe my first hit though was that when you first said that voice talked to you on a bus across
On the
town
truck
in
with
New
the
York.
pregnant woman.
Yes, it's like I thought that was a higher ET voice talking to you. From
Oh, I see.
yes.
That was your very first experience.
It was.
And I still thought that was not human necessarily, but maybe it was a higher dimensional being, whatever, but I got the sense that was beyond human, and you're very connected to that voice, that realm, those beings. Maybe that's just, I don't know. That was just my impression.
Well, I do know one thing.
What?
When we come together like this, we all touch one another, and that sparks incredible growth. So God knows, Alan, since I met you, where I'm going next.
Right. And did you tell me through Henrietta that I should try, what was it? Some psychedelic? I've used psychedelic, but what was there a
No.
message?
What?
No,
That
what,
doesn't sound like me saying that.
No,
No.
she didn't say
I
what-
that.
I don't
what
advise
did you say?
drugs.
Oh, sorry. What did she say?
Okay.
No, she said I'd be interested to hear the conversation about psychedelics.
Oh,
Oh,
You said-
yeah.
okay.
But not
No,
for Alan.
it's not important, but no, Alan, your life, I just want to be easy. That was the whole thing that
Yes,
I got
that
for you, right?
Oh, no, I like that. I like that.
Easy with
Easy,
assistance.
easy.
And
Yes,
so you can be
yes,
up
yeah.
on the
But what was the psychedelic part? Wasn't there
Oh,
some-
well, some of the stories I told last time,
Yeah.
specifically, not that anybody has to remember, but about the little flower people.
Yes, I
Well,
love that.
I had a friend who, he doesn't do psychedelics, but he was researching them a lot. And he said that that's very typical, I don't know, of a psychedelic experience. And so I thought maybe sometime we could, you probably already have, Alan, but we could explore like people's psychedelic experiences with people's
Yes.
spiritual and psychic experiences
I
and
would
see
love to
how
I
read
think
it.
that's
overlap
interesting. Yes,
Very
yes.
Because it's actually quite similar. A lot of the
Right.
things that you talk about, Marla, I mean, a conversation for another time that we can do specifically
Yeah.
about this,
Let's do that.
correlate to experiences I've had in altered states, you know,
Right.
and other people that I know.
But like,
And I've never had an altered state, and we're having the same experiences. So, I mean,
Exactly.
well,
altered
you are
states-
having altered states all the time
Yes.
when you go to those realms.
Yeah.
Like Willow meeting
Yes.
that blue being, that wasn't in a normal state of consciousness, Willow. That was an altered state, like a dream state, but it was altered. So we don't need substances, I think, to get to altered states. We have that neurochemistry within us.
We do.
Yes.
We do. But for people who, I mean, if you take psychedelics, and there's so much research around them now, as Marla was saying, you will automatically go into many different
You
states.
could, but then I want to get there on my own. I want to get there
Me
with,
too.
yeah.
Well, you both are
And you
already.
can too.
Henrietta,
Too, yeah.
What's that, Willow?
But I do find them a very accelerated, heightened.
Yes, but
and
Useful.
Henrietta, I think also, I think it has to do with the type of psychedelic and the amount that one takes
Right.
and the
And
situation
where, and you're
and
right, yeah.
things like that, most definitely. I follow that research as much as I can.
Do
I
you? Yeah,
attend
too.
the meetings of the Vermont Psychedelic Psychotherapy Association that's just begun.
Yes,
I'm planning
because
to
there's so
become a
much
member.
correlation, right, between what your practice and people using them to help.
Well,
in
I hope it becomes
success.
legal in
Yeah,
Vermont for helping people with PTSD and depression,
Yes.
because the research is incredible for it, and it's legal in Oregon now.
But, you know, I think the vibration of the planet is shifting so much, like your message in the beginning of the show, that we are at a different frequency. We are actually accessing these other realms that weren't so easily accessed before. Do you get that, Marla, too, that there's like the veil is thinner between the worlds now?
Mm.
Well, I think we're stepping up to the plate. I think that's all that's happening. I think all of that has been out there all the time, and that we are getting better at figuring out how to navigate, how to make a map, all we have to do really, I think honestly, is do what you're doing, Alan. Oh my God, how many compliments can you get in one night? Okay, no, seriously.
I appreciate it, but I'm just doing
I
my
just
thing. You
joked,
can
Alan, I just
compliment me as much as fine, because I
All right.
need it. I needed to feel more secure. Thank you.
I make a lot of jokes, but Alan, seriously, I think, and you know, that message was a lot about that, but isn't connection our really next step here? I mean, truthfully, like I want the language, I want it all, but connection, I think, is where we not just even need to go, but where we're going. So that means we have
Making
to
contact,
share our-
Marla. It's making contact.
so it's everybody
I
coming
think that's
together.
what she's
and
trying to
conver-
say.
Yeah,
I think that is exactly what I'm trying to say.
One planet society.
Yeah, I
like
think
like the Star Trek Federation dream, becoming one.
well, just to get a little
planet
serious, I think
society.
that's what this last 2 years with the crisis and everything that happened, it's like there are no borders anymore.
Yeah.
There's just
That's
one
true.
family of humans.
well, and also we're all connecting virtually even more so
Yes.
than ever. And Marla's seen this
The-
before, that technology is, you know, there's going to be leaps and bounds in technology.
And our energies
They're
are
already-
connecting at the same time. And
Yes.
we're connecting with the energies of anybody who might be watching. And our connection is sending energies out. So
Yes.
we've
and-
made contact, Alan.
Mhm.
Keep making contact. Thank you. Let's do this again.
I'd
Willow.
love to. Oh my God, if you can bear it. Making
I
contact.
can. Well, you read my introduction and let me know and write a report. No, you don't have to, but you could write a review if you like to on Amazon. But no, I'm just curious on what you think about that, and maybe there's a lot of great chapters in there. John
wait.
Mack.
Read the whole book. You can
Yes.
jump, you can dive into
Read
each
Henrietta's,
essay.
which I think is pretty good. I know you don't think it's like, but I think it's really good because it's not linear the way people like to tell stories. And this is the reality we're moving into, a non-linear, non-local reality. And your essay demonstrates that perfectly.
Well, I did a more of a sort of poetic, it's a bit
Yes,
more like
lyrical.
a poem
Yes.
is written, you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't tell a linear story.
Here, I'll put
But,
it in the,
But each essay, Marla, you can, or Willow, if you haven't read it, you don't have to read the book in a linear order. I mean,
but it is,
you can't.
but there is an arc to the book.
There is an arc to the book.
There is a linearity and a non-linearity to it. So that's.
I mean, I dotted around, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't read
But
them
if
in
you
order,
read-
and then I read it in order.
Yes, if you do read it in order, I think you'll understand the depth. It goes from the
Outer space to the inner space.
Exactly, from the exo to the
Oh.
esoteric. So it's like a batting lineup if you're into baseball. Or
Even I know what that means.
okay, good. But I'm curious. So you take your time, but let's converge
I
again.
think Willow would really enjoy the book.
I
actually.
I'm
think-
buying it right now. I just pulled it up and I am literally buying it right this second.
Oh, you're so cute. Thank you. I
think you'll relate to a
I
lot
think
of the stories. In there.
it gets progressed, and it's all in a way different researchers talking about different beings, different interactions with human beings. So there's a lot in there but there's a common theme. 10 out of those 11 essays mention telepathy, and there's
Done. I bought it.
it's like a spectrum of a rainbow. Thank you. Let me know what you think when you get it. So, all right. So any words you want to leave us with, Marla?
Oh, you're so kind.
Any stories?
Oh my God, we can't take another one of Marla's stories. But
Man,
I am just going to
we're gonna have a
reiterate.
separate channel.
Yes.
I am going to reiterate what I just said, if anybody can bear it. And that is that our energies are connecting, and we're connecting with anybody who's watching now. And our energies will, I'm not saying, oh, because we're so powerful, this is normal. Our energies will radiate out to anybody who watches this after the fact.
Yes, absolutely.
So I send happy energies to all.
And if you want a session with Marla, go to marlalombard.com.
Thank you.
And you do
And
sessions.
she really is marvelous. Like it's
Yes,
really
that's what-
extraordinary.
And do you
Your
just
maps, you know, I've over a period of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years that I've
Yeah.
had sessions with her. There are these maps that you can piece them all
Really?
together.
I
Yeah,
don't- Oh, that's nice.
really useful
Well, maybe.
pointers, symbols, and just kind of, you know, plain
Interesting.
factual information
I-
that's very accurate, that validates,
Oh,
corroborates
interesting.
what you've suspected, what you've wondered about.
That is interesting.
And then, you know, helpful things to know about where you're going wrong. She said a few things to me like, stop with all the Post-it notes and the great piles of pads and get organized.
That's
Did I say that to you?
Yeah, no, but it was very useful because honestly, that's really something I need to do. I mean, I'm just saying it's helpful.
Good thing we can't see my desk right now.
right. Well, you have a very nice house behind you. I know it's an illusion. So
These things that are quite simple that you can't see because you're used to, right? I've done that my whole life, but it's like, oh, I could have a better system of organization. It will help me work better,
that's good.
right?
Yes, I need one of those. too.
Right, you do.
Yes.
What Marla, you said to me tonight was incredibly useful and validating. And you know, as far as my final words for the evening, though, I would just like to say, you know, the beings, the anthroposophical angels, as I call them, those multidimensional beings, they always, what they gave is a message which they want me to just keep giving to everyone, which is what you said to me, live it, living it,
Right.
living. So practicing things like qigong and yoga and being in nature and finding ways to get chakra cleansing and clearing, finding ways to bring your conscious awareness down into your heart so that you're meeting the world through the heart energy field that you can learn about in Heart Math Institute. So living from the heart center and putting your own heart's desire, the things that excite you,
Yes.
out into the world. And that's the message.
Yes, but also, Willow, tell us what you do. Do you do online sessions too? Tell us a little bit about your practice.
Oh, yes. If anyone wants to contact me, just send me an email. It's telepath108 at gmail.com. Telepath108 at gmail.com. I do spiritual psychotherapy. I do normal psychotherapy. I can also teach Merkaba light body meditation activations and fun things like that.
And Marla, I'm going to end by saying,
Oh, yes.
well, I loved what you said about doing the good work. Doing the good work, treating the person that's right in front of you with care, with respect, with doing what you can in the moment, what's presented.
Right.
Right in front of you.
In the moment. I love that. In the moment.
The great, of course, the visions that the planning, all of that is important, but always what is right in front of you, to pay attention, to give as much as you can.
That's
and
being impeccable with integrity. Yes,
Right.
that if we can all live that way,
Because if you're not starting there, then the grand plan can get distorted.
Yeah.
I think
that's the inner
That's what I've
integrity.
learned. Yeah.
That's what the Tao Te, the integral way, the integral.
doing the good works with joy, joy and community, which we've.
Thank you, Henrietta, for that.
Yeah, Marla, you're good. You go right. I mean, you don't hold back when you have something to say.
I love her for that.
Which is
Thank you
so much fun.
Yes, Willow appreciated it, and
oh, Willow, can I just say one thing to you, Willow? Just
Please,
one.
so
In
much.
addition to your reading, then I'm leaving. I promise. Willow, but you are living it just by breathing and walking and interacting.
Yes, exactly.
But you don't have to do any. I love the recommendations you made. I love them. I think they're so important. But you just being your beautiful self, you're living it.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I was not a year ago. I was sick and in a lot of pain. And since I started had the vision and started bringing in the things that it taught me to live them, I'm becoming more the person that you see in front of me, who's by no means perfect.
No, you're beautiful.
You are sweet and pure and good and loving, and just being in your presence is really delightful, because there's not one drop of cynicism in you, which is really
true.
rare. It's very rare in the modern world.
But when I think you were 10 years old, when I met you at your father's store, I think you were a little cynical.
Like any good teenager.
Yeah.
And I was a punk rocker after that.
You are a punk rocker. That's why this double vision.
I love it.
There's these two versions of you that I'm seeing.
Fantastic.
I just remember you as that, but now you're this whole other person. How could you have been that if you're this?
Because she was rebelling, she had to
grow
into herself. And punk rock is a great energetic way to do it.
Funny.
I'm right with you, girl.
To see it as the same person, but I guess we have many parts to ourselves.
Many aspects.
And I'd love to.
Thank you for the love and the feedback.
Well, thanks for being here. And Marla, thank you for your gifts and being so willing to share them.
Thank you for pushing me, Alan.
Well, someone has to.
Somebody
Everyone
does
has
have
to
to.
hear about Marla ever since.
And you're
I've
always
known
pushing
her.
other people, so why not someone push you?
Thank you for helping me. Thank you.
Well, I think
I just want to say what an honor to be with Nadi and Willow and Henrietta. And
yeah.
it's an honor.
Mm.
Thank you.
And everyone online, most of everyone. I had to get rid of someone who's just making some rude comments, but
It's really wonderful to be able to take part in these enlivening discussions.
it's so strange having an intimate kind of conversation with the whole world watching, but it's like this, it's like climbing a high ladder. You're not looking down, you're just going where you're going. So,
And it means a lot to me, because as a psychotherapist also, I could lose clients if they're very cynical and not open to this stuff. But because
Oh, that's true.
I have a mission, I come forward on this.
right.
And with joy and love.
That's very
And I know
brave,
that the people
Willow.
who are open will come.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Henrietta. I just have to say, it's always good to just be able to speak whatever's happening in the moment and be in this flow of beingness that like kind of this multidimensional conversation brings out. So
It's like this, isn't it? If we were
It's-
going to do a movement.
yeah.
Well, that's what the beings told me to tell people to do, that exact movement.
Really?
In order to get the energy flowing like Qigong and your toroidal field to expand it, be more expansive. And that's
Wow.
how you help put your heart's desire into creation to create the life that you want. To
Mm.
create
Thanks,
the
Willow.
world and the society and the universe that we want.
Mm.
Okay,
Well-
let's go.
Okay, we're
I'm
going now.
inspired.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
I meant like, let's go inspiring.
all right. Well, we could do it again
Marla,
next
like,
week.
let's go.
I'm actually getting hungry, but that's fine.
This has been a long one, but
Yes.
worth
My
it.
son's missing me now.
Thank-
so-
Thanks for sharing so much of your stories and your life. It's not just stories. These are things that have impacted you so deeply that they've stayed with you. You don't forget them. And they're not just stories. They are integrations, though, of realities that you have learned to live by. So that's the difference between this and a story. They're teachings for you personally in your evolution. That's what I get.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by how you get this information, Marla.
Well, you know what? My
Ways.
favorite saying is the universe is efficient.
It is indeed.
I don't know. Maybe I could do something with my apartment. Cleaning
my
up.
Yeah.
It's efficient. It's efficient in an indirect way. Yes. But
I think
anyway.
it's pretty efficient.
Oh, thank you. I think everything's efficient then. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone tuning.
Thank you so much.
Marla, thank you, Willow.
Yeah, subscribe
you.
to the channel if you haven't been. Everyone. And Willow, so great to keep reconnecting. And Marla,
Love.
my new best friend, Marla.
I know. We're looking forward to the next
It's
session.
true. Can't wait till next week.
Yes.
I want you to meet David. Well, there are
Yes,
lots of people.
we'll bring some
Yeah.
more people in and we'll have a little more roundtable.
More of a powwow with
Thanks.
different field people from different fields.
Yes, some scientists coming in and some other people every Wednesday. We try to do it this time, 7 p.m.
And
I
we
want to talk with
paranormal, which would be interesting because
Yes.
I'd love
Oh, yeah, that's
David to
good.
question Marla,
That would be good.
right?
Mhm.
Can I
Oh.
question David too?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It's all around.
Thank
both
you.
ways.
Thanks, everyone.